Hi, I'm Angie Hicks, co-founder of Angie, and one thing I've learned is that you buy a house, but you make it a home. Because with every fix, update, and renovation, it becomes a little more your own. So you need all your jobs done well. For nearly 30 years, Angie has helped millions of homeowners hire skilled pros for the projects that matter. From plumbing to electrical, roof repair to deck upgrades. So leave it to the pros who will get your jobs done well. Hire high-quality certified pros at Angie.com.
This episode is brought to you by Skinny Pop Popcorn. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Oh, so light and crunchy. Skinny Pop Original Popcorn is the snack you've been searching for. Made with just 3 simple ingredients: popcorn kernels, sunflower oil, and salt. Snacking never felt or tasted so good. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Give yourself permission to snack and pick up Skinny Pop Original Popcorn today.
So you're like not on the ball, and
well, listen.
So now the month is wrong, the notice is illegal, and you didn't bother to check your emails.
Well, the thing is, I'm pretty busy. I have all the.
We're all busy, pal.
This is the plaintiff, Tatiana Lavelle. She says she rented an apartment from the defendant, and the louse didn't renew her lease, and she was forced out. The unscrupulous guy now refuses to return her security deposit. He has no right keeping it. And she's here in the name of justice to get the $1,700 returned to her. This is the defendant, Horace Spence. He says the plaintiff couldn't afford to rent his place any longer, and it was best for both of them if she moved out, which she did. Unfortunately, the plaintiff tried to stiff him on the last month's rent. He's not running a charity and needs his money, so he took her security deposit, which is right. He's accused of not having a heart.
All parties, please use your right hands.
What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in civil court. Both parties have agreed to drop their claims and have their cases settled here before Judge Marilyn Millian in our forum, the People's Court.
People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Millian presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Laville, you are suing Mr. Spence, your landlord, for $1,700 in a security deposit that he refuses to return. Tell me what's going on.
So I moved in about March of 2021. When I first moved in, I gave him the first month's rent and the security deposit. The following month, I did ask if I can have a prorated amount. He didn't do it.
Because you had moved the first month in the middle of the month.
In the middle of the month, yes.
All right.
So I moved, we had a verbal agreement and he agreed to take off $400 off the balance.
All right, so now the clock resets and now you're due every first of the month.
Yes.
Okay, go on.
So for April of that month, he prorated it, and the $400 off, I paid $1,300 for that month. Times were a little hard, so I did fall off, but I applied for the rental assistance program, and
That's the federal government's assistance program to help you pay your rent after COVID.
Yes.
Okay.
So I got approved for that program in about December. So they covered up to 7 months. I was due on November and December, and then the rest I wouldn't have to pay until June of 2022.
Okay. Let's talk about what happens. Why is it you're moving? Are you on a month-to-month at this point?
No,
or?
I was on a yearly lease. So
okay.
My lease expired in February 28th of 2022. He reached out to me after my lease expired. I wasn't too...
February of 2022, was the government paying your rent, or were you?
The government.
Okay, and that went on until May. The last month they paid was May of 2022.
Yes.
So in February, he reaches out to you on what?
He reached out to me the month after my lease expired. He reached out to me on March. I'm new to the renting process. I was not aware that you're supposed to receive your lease 60 days prior to it expiring. I received my lease after it expired.
I mean,
I did send him all the documents.
If you don't have a new lease, you don't have a right to live there, and it just becomes a month-to-month. If you continue to live there and he continues to take rent, then it just becomes a month-to-month.
But within the rental assistance program, there are protections against the renter that he didn't abide by because he cannot evict.
Protections for the renter?
Yes.
That he didn't abide by because? What did he do?
He tried to evict me for basically holdover tenancy or expired lease. But I sent him all the documents that he asked me for when he asked them, and I let him know, but he didn't reach out back to me until April, which was 2 days before May, April 30th.
Right.
Letting me know that to contact him to discuss the new lease and the upcoming rent payment. I didn't respond to him right away because I knew that I wasn't supposed to pay rent until June, but on May 2nd.
So you're not worried. Right, but maybe he's worried, right? Yeah. Because the government's going to stop paying your rent, you're going to have to pay your rent, and he needs to know what's going on. So he would like you to respond. So when do you respond?
I responded to him the day that I came home. I found an eviction letter on my door.
Well, that's why and that day was how many days after you didn't respond?
That was 2 days after. 2
days after?
Yes.
Okay. So do you have the eviction letter that was put on your door?
Yes.
May I have it?
There's 2 letters.
Okay. That your lease expired as of February 28th. You failed to comply with providing all requested documents as proof of income for lease renewal. You must pay the full amount owed May rent payment. So were you paid for May by...
Yeah, I was paid for May.
Okay, so why this notice, though, is saying...
Right. We actually spoke on the phone and we clarified that.
So this is an error on your part?
That's an error on my part.
You meant what?
I meant for June.
Okay, but you're posting this on May 2nd.
Right. But
so June's rent's not owed.
I was also trying to get her into the motion to come and...
Yeah, but you don't have a right to file something called an eviction notice and demand that rent be paid a month in advance. So this is a completely illegal document. You cannot tell them in this officious tone that this is what's going to happen if you don't pay June rent on May 2nd. I mean, you can't do that. Within 3 days, you have to pay June rent on May 5th, or else you don't do this, okay? You're not a lawyer, and don't pretend to be. There's certain things you can file as a landlord, but they are very specific, and usually the words are right in the law about what you can say, but you can't pretend to be notifying them about something you have a legal right to do that is completely bogus, because you can't demand June rent in May. All right, it says last 2 months bank statements, last 4 consecutive pay stubs, and payment. All right, so what do you do in May when you get this?
When he asked me for the documents, I did text him and I let him know on March 20th that I would send him the documents. So March 21st, I do have the emails where I sent him the documents.
What documents did you send him on March 21st?
The pay stubs as well as the bank statement.
You had done that?
Yes, and I texted him and let him know that I sent him, and he said he would review them.
Okay, did you receive that 2 months earlier?
Yeah, I did receive it.
And what? So you're like not on the ball? And
well, listen.
So now the month is wrong, the notice is illegal, and you didn't bother to check your emails.
Well, the thing is, I'm pretty busy. I have all the...
We're all busy, pal. I mean, but you're getting super mad at her and making up things about what her obligations are when you didn't check your email. So now he checks his email and he sees it, and what happens?
So when I got that eviction notice, I called him that day, and then we had a discussion, and he discussed...
How many bedrooms are in this place?
1.
Okay, go on.
He discussed with me that I don't make enough to be able to rent the apartment. But I had sent him the documents 2 months prior. I was like, why am I getting it now? It's May 2nd, and I sent you those documents 2 months prior. Like, I would have made prior arrangements had I known that I can't afford the apartment no more.
Okay, so what happens? What do you guys discuss? You say, forget it, I'm leaving? He says, forget it, you gotta go? What happened?
Later that day, I went back into my email to look at the rental assistance program, to look at the protections that I had, and I wrote an email and sent it out to him, basically discussing the eviction notice, how I wasn't too fond of it, and then...
Okay, hold on. What exactly did you bring up to his attention?
I have the email here.
Okay, can I see the email?
Yeah. So this is the email that I sent him, and I sent him all the screenshots of the protections that are provided in the assistance program.
All right, so on May 2nd, you send him an email saying, I'm really upset finding the eviction notice on my front door. I was taken aback. I would like to bring several points to your attention. My lease expired in February. I did not receive my proper 60-day notice. As per real property law blank, under New York state law, if you have lived in your apartment for more than 1 year but less than 2, your landlord must provide you with 60 days advance notice before raising your rent or not renewing your lease. Okay. As per ERAP, that's the Federal Assistance Program, application approval, the state-approved rental payment this program covered the months of, and it covered May, because at this point you're looking at it something that says you need to pay May.
Yes.
And you know that May is
owe May.
already paid, so point well taken. Also, per this agreement, after your landlord receives this money, they must apply the money to past due rent, waive any late fees of past due rent, not raise the rent for 1 year. He didn't do any of those. Not evict you for the reasons of expired lease or holdover tenancy for 1 year after the first payment is received. Yeah, I'm remembering that. That the law includes, well done by you. Go you. Oh, who's you? Who's that? Who's sister? You're the sister? Are you a lawyer?
No.
Are you a law student? No, but you do your research. Wow, you go. I'm not sure it affects this case, but it's really well done, this email. But let's put a pin in this a second, because I'm not sure I have to address that in order to decide this case. At some point, you say to him what your plans are. And what do? You send him a text, an email?
I sent him another email stating that I would not.
Okay, and that email is dated what?
That was May 13th.
I have that here. I've decided not to renew my lease. I would like some time to be able to move my things. Considering I moved in March 18th, I would like to be out June 18th. Now, that's fine if you've been paying rent every 18th of the month, but that's not what happened. What happened was you moved in the middle of a month but paid the whole month. Then the next month you negotiate paying prorated, and now everything resets and your rent's due the first of the month for the month. I guess what you're saying is somehow you should be able to stay June 1st through the 18th for free?
I just figures, since I moved in mid-month, allow me to mid-month to move out.
It's fine that you pick the day you want to move out. I have no problem with that. And he's not saying, oh, she overstayed, whatever. Like, the day you move out isn't the issue. The issue is, did you pay for June? And your answer for why you didn't is what? I already told him I was leaving. And therefore what? You don't have to pay?
No, but I sent the email and I didn't receive a response right away, but he did come to an agreement that the 18th was fine for me.
The 18th is fine. It's just that you need to pay rent and you didn't. And so he took the rent out of the deposit. So why isn't that correct?
I understand, but in the lease that we both signed off on, he does state that the security deposit cannot be used towards
for
the rent.
you. You can't use it as a sword, but he can use it as a shield, If you don't pay rent, that's one of the things that he can do is to get the rent out of there. I guess you might have an argument, particularly in light of everything he was wrong about that's bothered me. You might have an argument, hey, the rent should be prorated because he knew I was leaving on the 18th. It wasn't a surprise. He didn't think I was leaving on the 30th. He knew I was leaving on the 18th, and nobody objected to it, and he knew that as of May 13th. So maybe he could have gotten another tenant because he had a whole month to plan to have another tenant for the rest of June. So I just want to pay prorated. I'll hear you on that. Does that sound good?
I hear you.
Because free ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, I know.
No matter how well put together the email is that you fought him with, free isn't gonna happen because free. Would you like to say something?
Oh, well, I'd say that, she wasn't a bad tenant. I really tried to work with her. And I really told her that, I don't think she could afford it based on the financials that she showed me. So, she decided that, she was going to leave.
Right. Did you expect her to pay rent on June 1st?
Sure.
And so did you call her and say, where's the rent? Or that you didn't do that because you had her security? So
I had the security,
right.
And she said she was leaving on the 22nd.
And you were fine with her staying until the 18th, especially because she gave you a month and a half notice about that.
She could have stayed to the end of the month.
So why didn't you? She could have.
Yeah.
And typically speaking, I would hear you on that argument that if they say the first day, they owe the month. But she tells you a month and a half in advance, this is the day I'd like to leave. So you had plenty of notice to be able to re-rent the place. And you didn't object to her staying until the 18th. And I really hate that notice that you put up, demanding May rent when it had already been paid to you, and then telling her, well, now never mind. Now what I'm demanding is June when you don't have a right to demand June.
I couldn't show the apartment if she's living in there. You can show it,
right, but you can.
Yes,
well, first of all, that's not true. Yeah. You can show the apartment while she's living there. The same way, if I paid my rent, you also can't. You have to coordinate with me to show it in order to not skip one day and have a back-to-back tenants. You still would have to show it when the other tenant's there. And you have the right to that. I presume that your lease says that with reasonable notice, and that's how you do it. Otherwise, then you need time in between, and you take the time in between, which landlords do, and landlords take the hit for that time if they would rather not be rushed and have a few weeks to set it up and rent out at the middle of the month. But in every tenancy, when someone's there, if you want to rent it for the next day, for July 1st, then you have to show it while they're there. So no, I'm gonna make her pay the prorated amount just because the notice came so early and there was no objection to it. I have been in this position as a landlord, and I've said to them, you will need to pay the entire month of June if you are going to be there on June 1st. Otherwise, you will need to leave on May 31st. So and I've said that to tenants before. So I just wanted to put you on notice. If you're staying in June, you need to pay rent for June because I'm not going to eat rent for June. You do nothing. You allow her to stay until the 18th. I'm going to make her pay the prorated portion, which means for the 18 days that she's there, she has to pay $1,019.99, and he has your $1,700. So that means you will get back $680. That's my verdict. Good luck, folks.
So the plaintiff prevails in this case. She's going to get back money, $680, but not the $1,700 she was suing for. Mr. Spence, the defendant, has just come out of the courtroom. What do you feel about that, Mr. Spence? You got to give back $680.
Well, I think it was, overall fair. She was a fairly decent tenant and she needs help to move on, which, she made that decision, so I didn't have to go through an eviction to get her out, so that's a plus.
All right, thank you very much, sir. That'll do it for you. $680 you give back. The exit's on your left there. Ms. Lavelle is now on her way out of the courtroom. I don't know if she's thrilled or not. She wanted $1,700, the whole thing back. So you don't get it, Ms. Lavelle. What are you thinking?
It's pretty fair given the terms that I stayed half the month, so it's understandable.
All right, well, you seem pretty okay with it. Good enough. You didn't get $1,700, but you're a pretty smart person. You had some good points in this case.
Thank you.
So good for you. All right, so that'll bring this case to a close, and I think everybody who rents has just learned something from all the pointers here. What do you think, Harvey?
Doug, this is a really interesting case that underscores obligations of landlords when a tenant moves out. They have all sorts of obligations that vary from state to state, but generally, if a landlord wants to keep part or all of a security deposit because of a failure to pay rent or damage to the unit, the landlord has to itemize exactly why he is taking certain money out and get it to the tenant within a certain number of days. Oftentimes it's 14 days, sometimes it's 30, but you got to look at the law in your state to know.
I'm interested in hiring a contractor to replace a sidewalk in front of my home. What should be in the contract to protect me, and how should the contract be written? Thank you.
Okay. My general advice to anyone ever is the contract should be written with as many details as possible. Just sit there and think what could go wrong.
Right.
And put all of that in there. For example, you want to make sure that it's done to code.
Of course.
Right? So you put in there according to code.
Right.
If it requires a permit, you want to make sure that they get the permit.
Right.
Or you want to keep your mouth shut, whichever it is, but put it in there. Whatever you want protection on, put it in there. If you want to make sure that they are a licensed contractor, then make sure that the contract has their license number and you've checked it. Because what I find is that everybody gets really hinky about the license after everything goes downhill, not before.
Yeah, sometimes they'll send you like a letterhead or something that says licensed and bonded, and it'll have a number, and the number might not correspond to them. That's happened too.
Or it may be expired and they haven't kept up with it.
Or it's some company they used to work for.
So if that's important to you, then make sure it's not only on the contract, but that you look it up.
Right. You need a payment schedule.
A payment schedule, because you don't want to pay the whole thing up front, because then there's no incentive to finish. So you want to have a payment schedule like beginning, middle, and end. Try to do beginning, middle, and end. But if you can't, at least beginning and end. Because you need to have some payment on your side to make sure that the end is correct.
And some time deadlines.
And time deadlines, but you have to be more flexible.
To the extent that that's possible.
Right. With contractors, there's always going to be delay. And that the work is done roped off because you don't want anybody to be unsafe around it.
Right.
Hi, I'm Angie Hicks, co-founder of Angie. When you use Angie for your home projects, you know all your jobs will be done well. Roof repair? Done well. Kitchen sink install? Done well. Deck upgrades? Done well. Electrical upgrade? Done well. Angie's been connecting homeowners with skilled pros for nearly 30 years, so we know the difference between done and done well. Hire high-quality, certified pros at Angie.com.
The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is,
"Thank you for calling. Please listen to your list of 46 possible service options."
which is why when you choose USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable. 24/7 online service for claims, access to roadside assistance, and more, all at the touch of a button. Start getting the service you deserve. Get a quote today. Ability to receive a quote depends on membership eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
This is the plaintiff, Aurora Santiago. She says she and the defendant both had their dogs in a local park, and the defendant's dog attacked her dog and injured him something awful. She's had to spend $2,734.33 on vet bills, training sessions, and the rude, non-caring defendant refuses to pay. So she's suing. This is the defendant, Ralph Castro. He says he wants to dispel the myth here and now about pit bulls being vicious. His dog has never been off leash, has never attacked another dog, and this attack never happened, and he's not going to give the plaintiff a thing. He's accused of causing a dog fight.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff says that the defendant's dog viciously attacked her dog and he owes her big time. But the defendant says his pit bull is not vicious, he's never been off a leash, and his dog did nothing wrong. It's the case of a dog-eats-dog world.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, yeah.
All right, Ms. Santiago, you're suing Mr. Castro because you say his dog attacked your dog and caused injury. What happened?
Well, on January 8th, that's the first snowstorm of the year, 2022, my friend and I and my daughter, we went to Joyce Kilmer Park to have the dogs run around, play with each other. And my dog was 11 months old, and I was teaching him how to fetch and come back to me. But, and may I say, the dog was off the leash because it was still under the time frame in the state of New York. It's from 9 p.m. in the evening till 9 a.m. in the morning. You can have your dog off the leash.
Well, that's not in every park. That's in certain specific parks and certain sometimes specific sections of certain parks that you can have the dog off the leash. All right, so go on.
So my dog happened to see Mr. Castro's dog. And when he saw his dog, he ran towards the dog.
Do the dogs know each other?
No, this is the first time.
Okay.
That he sees this dog.
Okay. How far did your dog run to get to his dog?
I really can't tell.
I mean, I'm asking, like, is it 5 feet or 40 feet?
I say 20.
Okay.
Yeah. So so he runs towards Mr. Castro's dog. He went with the intentions to play. You know, he's dodging, going up to the dog, and wanting to play. Mr. Castro yells back at me to come get my dog. So I tell him, I says, it's okay. You know, he's a puppy. He's a casual dog. You know, he's a
I'm sorry, but how is it up to you to decide if it's okay that your puppy run up to a person and his dog? He's telling you get your dog. Why wouldn't
I'm not
you
saying it's...
Yeah, but you're telling him it's okay. She's a casual dog. I mean, that's kind of weird.
No, because his expression on his face was like if my dog was going to attack his dog.
Okay.
So I just told him, I says, no, he's a social dog.
Okay.
You know. So he says, I don't care if he's a social dog. I'm not training my dog to be a social dog. Come get your dog.
Okay.
All right. So I have arthritis. So anyone who has arthritis can tell you if it rains or if it snows, you're going to be in pain. And it's hard for you to maneuver, especially in snow. So I was trying to get towards him as fast as I could.
You couldn't just call your dog back?
My dog is a pup. I'm training him to come to me. That was the whole purpose of having him off the leash.
And what kind of dog is your dog?
He's a husky, Siberian husky.
Okay, go on.
So I'm trying to get there as fast as I can. When I do get to reach Mr. Castro and his dog, I'm trying to grab my dog. So huskies are very fast. I'm trying to reach for him. He's dodging me. with the intention of keep playing with this dog. He said, "Oh, get your dog," and I'm like, "Listen, I'm trying to get my dog. You see me? I'm trying to catch him." His dog jumps and grabs my dog. He was reaching for the neck. I see my dog spins around, and he grabs him on the back of the neck.
Okay, just to know, his dog is on a leash, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then attacks your dog, grabs
Correct.
your dog at the top of the neck, and what happens?
Yes. So he locks.
And what kind of dog did he have?
He has a pit bull.
Okay.
And so I'm saying, listen, tell your dog to get off my dog. All right? He's biting my dog. Get him off my dog. And I'm struggling to try to get his dog off my dog. And my dog is screaming, yelling in pain. So I have a bag with wipes, gloves, treats, and extra leash. So I'm hitting his dog to get off my dog.
And what is he doing during this?
He's doing nothing. He's not commanding his dog to get off my dog. Nothing. He's doing absolutely nothing. And I'm frantic. I'm like losing my mind. And I threaten him. I says, listen, if you don't get your dog off my dog, okay, I'm going to call the cops to do something about it. And that's when his dog let go of my dog.
You think the dog understood? I mean, it's just coincidental that the dog...
I think he summoned the dog.
Well, did he say anything?
He summoned the dog.
Did he say
You don't have to say anything. I've seen people go...
Well, did he do that?
Listen, I have no idea.
Okay.
Right now,
so the dog lets go, and then you take your dog.
I grab my dog.
Right.
I grab my dog, and I am examining my dog. I'm trying to see if because there's blood, right? And there's a hole. I see a hole on the back of his neck. And I'm looking around his neck, to the front of the dog, to see if there's any other damage around the front of the dog. He just walks away. Now, one time he asked me, listen, is your dog okay? Or I apologize for my dog attacking your dog. Nothing. Walks away.
Okay. Now, who was with you? Were there any witnesses?
My daughter was with me, and my friend Shawana was with me.
All right. Let me hear from Shawana.
Okay. Shawana.
Hi. What is your name?
Shawana Bryce.
Okay. Tell me what you saw that day.
The dogs are playing. I have a Rottie, a Rottweiler, and Terry is a husky.
Terry is Miss Santiago's dog.
Yes,
okay.
ma'am. So as we were calling Terry to come back, Terry spots Mr. Castro's dog, and he goes running towards Mr. Castro's dog. And we're screaming, don't worry, he's a puppy. He's not going to do anything. You know, he just wants to play.
What was Mr. Castro saying?
Mr. Castro was very aggressive, to be quite honest with you. It threw me back.
How was Mr. Castro aggressive? What was it he said that makes you say that?
Okay, his body language, his movement, and him telling her to come get her dog. So I screamed across as Aurora, Miss Santiago is going towards him to try to get the dog. I said, come on, enough already, because he's berating her. Get your dog, get your dog. And I said, enough already.
So you see Mr. Castro's dog latch, and Mr. Castro's dog is on a leash, right?
Mr. Castro's dog is on a leash. Mr.
Okay.
Castro didn't try to pull the dog back. To me, he was like, like another day in the park, like nothing, like you're walking, like nothing. And
how long was his dog latched onto Terry?
I say about 2 or 3 good minutes. I thought about 2 or 3 good minutes.
Sometimes it feels that long, but it's probably shorter.
Right.
But it feels like an eternity.
Yeah, it feels. It
I mean, 2 or 3 minutes is a really long time.
And what finally happened, as far as him letting go, is when Miss Santiago told him she's going to call the police. Then Mr. Castro made a hand movement. I was far enough back to see the hand movement. When he made a hand movement, the dog released, and Mr. Castro just walked away like nothing happened. He didn't ask her, was the dog okay? He didn't stick around to see anything. He just made the hand movement, the dog released, and they walked away.
Okay. Let me hear from you, Mr. Castro. And could you please have Miss Santiago take the seat again? Let me hear from you, Mr. Castro.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm surprised about all of this. This never occurred. This whole story is made up. I spent 26 years trying to educate people about pit bulls and that they're not animals. I've had 3.
Well, they are animals.
Well, I mean, vicious animals. They have a stigma that they are killers.
Right.
And so I have been trying to educate people about them and this never occurred. Did your dog bite my dog at all? I don't understand. My dog didn't have, this never occurred, Your Honor. This
it never occurred at all? You don't remember any of this at all, or it didn't happen? And why are they pinning this on your dog like they are?
This episode is brought to you by Skinny Pop Popcorn. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Oh, so light and crunchy. Skinny Pop Original Popcorn is the snack you've been searching for. Made with just 3 simple ingredients: popcorn kernels, sunflower oil, and salt. Snacking never felt or tasted so good. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Give yourself permission to snack and pick up Skinny Pop Original Popcorn today.
I sent some information to you regarding Ms. Shawana Bryce,
the witness,
who has been harassing me for a year and a half, and I had her boyfriend arrested because he sent her dog, his name is Thunder, to attack me in the park February 1st. And so I have an order of protection against her boyfriend.
Okay, but isn't that after this happens?
Yes. Absolutely.
Did you have a problem with her before? Did you have a problem with her before this happens?
Ma'am, Your Honor, I've never seen this woman before. I've only seen Shawana Bryce.
All right. You say you got a restraining order in February?
Yes. It took
over an event that happened when?
It happened February 1st. It took a little longer because I didn't know the gentleman's name.
So according to you, you got a restraining order against her boyfriend based on events that happened on February 1st.
That's correct.
And the restraining order was because her boyfriend had done what?
He sent his dog to attack me from across the park, and as I was walking my dog.
How do you know that he sent the dog to attack you?
He raised his hand and said, "Go get him."
Did you hear the words, "Go get him"?
No, he mouthed it because I was 200 yards away.
And you're a lip reader from 200 yards away?
Ma'am, he's like, clearly, "Go get him." And so... But
so you read his lips from 200 yards away?
No.
Then you saw what?
The dog come charging across the park.
That's it. Okay, why is your assumption that the guy sent the dog to go get you instead of that his dog got loose? Why are you assuming that it was deliberate and intentional? That's what I'm asking.
Because they've been harassing me for a year and a half.
A year and a half. So let's go backwards. The witness in this case has been harassing you for a year and a half. What is the problem between you folks?
That's what I was trying to find out, Your Honor. I just asked them to put the dog on a leash, and that's all I asked them, and they cursed me out.
So there is friction between you folks because when they walk their dog is off leash.
Yeah, so especially the Rottweiler. I've never seen the husky, just the Rottweiler.
So the Rottweiler, you have been telling her, put your dog, your Rottweiler, Thunder, Miss Shawana, the witness's dog, put your dog on a leash. And,
please.
And what do they say to you when you say that?
They curse me out, and they threaten me.
You got a temporary restraining order. What happened with that? Because when you get a temporary restraining order, there's a full hearing with notice to the other side a few weeks later. And what happened at that hearing for the restraining order?
Ironically, they're supposed to go before the judge today.
Aren't you supposed to go before the judge today, too?
No, the gentleman that was arrested is supposed to go before the judge today. The ADA called me.
Oh, he was actually arrested.
Yes, ma'am, yes. He had assault 2 charge. So he was arrested, and then the assistant district attorney called me and told me about the charges.
Ms. Santiago, do you know any of the stuff he's talking about?
Prior to the attack on my dog, I have never seen Mr. Castro, okay? I've never seen him or his dog.
On January 8th, when this happened, did you end up calling animal control or did you file a police report or anything like that?
Okay, so you know why I didn't file the police report and animal control? Because Miss Bryce told me not to.
Why?
She said it's not the dog's fault, it's the owner's fault. A dog does not train himself. The owner trains the dog.
Okay. So did you take your dog to the vet? You said you found a hole and blood everywhere. Did you take your dog to the vet that night?
That night, I did not take my dog to the vet because I knew I did not have $1,000 to dish out for this bill.
Okay.
What I did was I bought peroxide, I bought Neosporin.
So when did you take the dog to the vet?
10 days later, when I got paid, because I get paid every 15 days.
Oy.
Welcome back to the People's Court. The question, is this a case of mistaken dog identity? Let's go back into the courtroom and find out.
So you take the dog to the vet, and what does the vet do?
The vet tells me, listen, the dog has to be hospitalized. I have to cut around the area of the tear. So, and he told me straight off the bat.
So you incur these vet bills, and you feel that it is his fault because he did not pull the dog off. Do you and he have something against each other before this
Never
day?
seen the Mr. Castro.
You never seen him?
Never.
Well,
never.
On January, when this happened, did your friend Shawana tell you, I have a 1.5 year history with him where we've been yelling at each other because he doesn't like our dogs being off leash? Did she tell you anything?
Not at all. It wasn't until after the incident that she said that he has a history of being rude to the other dog owners.
And according to you, he has a tendency to speak down to women and has problems with other... Why do you say he has a tendency to speak down to women?
Because he doesn't speak like that to men.
How do you know? Have you ever seen him speak to men?
Shawana had seen him speak to other women dog owners that way.
Okay, but maybe he speaks to everybody that way.
Well, he's very disrespectful to speak to a woman that way.
Okay. Mr. Castro, they say your dog viciously attacked her dog, and she wants $1,134 in vet bills, $600 for 10 dog training sessions, and he should pay for that. Why? Because your dog is now what?
Yeah, my dog now is afraid. Okay, he's apprehensive when dogs approach him, especially big breed dogs.
Okay. So that's what the $600 are. $500 in 2 days of lost wages and another $500 in pain and suffering. She's suing for $2,734. And your response to that, Mr. Castro, is what? Is what happened your dog's fault?
I feel so sorry for her dog, Your Honor, honestly. But that never happened. My dog never encountered. I've never seen this.
So your defense is that this just didn't even happen. Okay.
It did not happen, ma'am.
I know that she did take her dog to the vet on the 18th. So do you think her dog got attacked by someone else's dog? And then Shawana said, hey, sue Ralph Castro because she's having problems with you?
Well, I don't know, Your Honor. It's my impression that that's what happened. I didn't even know that Shawana was a witness.
Can I speak to Shawana again?
Shawana.
Yeah. Shawana, are you the one that gave Ms. Santiago Mr. Castro's name to sue him?
No.
Is Mr. Castro the complainant in a criminal case against your boyfriend?
My husband.
Your husband, yeah?
Yes. So Mr. Castro, after this incident.
Yeah, you neglected to tell me all that you guys had a history.
No, we don't have a history. Mr. Castro, after this incident, has now been targeting my husband. So it's making false allegations against my husband. This one case doesn't have to do with what's going on with us.
Go ahead and put Ms. Santiago back there.
Okay.
Ms. Santiago, you sent me into evidence something that you call New York City leash law, dog walking guidelines. And you got it off of the correct website that you should be looking at, which is newyorkcitygovparks.org. What you sent me says, to accommodate park visitors and protect park landscape, dog must be leashed in all areas from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., except in the 4 dog runs. Are there any dog runs in Joyce Kilmer Park?
No.
Right. Because you didn't look up Joyce Kilmer Park. If you look on the top right-hand corner, you looked up Riverside Park, and that is a different park. What you need to do is look up Joyce Kilmer, because you're under this misimpression, because I looked it up, and Joyce Kilmer's not one of the parks where you can have your dogs roaming free. Your dogs have to be on a leash. So I don't know, and I don't even have to know, whether this is made up because your friend has something against Mr. Castro, like Mr. Castro's saying, because no matter what, in this park, if it happened the way you're saying, you're supposed to be in control of your dog. Your dog can't be off leash. This is not a place where your dog would have been able to be off leash or is allowed to be off leash. This is not one of the parks or one of the places in a park that you are allowed to have your dog off leash. So no matter what, my verdict in this case is for the defendant.
So in this mysterious case, the plaintiff prevails, but only because her dog was off-leash and she admitted it. The defendant said it never happened. Mr. Castro, let me ask you again. You said you weren't there. It wasn't your dog. Is that really right?
That's true, sir.
You stick to that?
True. I keep telling my wife it's a Twilight Zone episode because this never occurred. I've never seen this lady. I've never seen her dog. Everything that she said is made up. And it's a Twilight Zone episode. I'm sorry the judge didn't see it for what it was, but I'm glad that she had, that she ruled in our favor.
Well, I'm sure you are. All right, well, it's kind of a mystery here. Ms. Santiago, you heard the judge. She ruled because you admitted your dog was off leash. You know? You understand?
Yes. Teaches me a lesson.
All right, well, thank you very much. I'm sorry it happened. I hope your dog... How is your dog, by the way?
He's okay. He has psychological issues going on with other dogs, but health-wise, he's fine. Thank God.
Okay, good enough. All right, thank you very much. That'll bring the case to a close. Unfortunately, you cannot prevail.
Okay, Doug, we're going to talk about the leash law for a second. If you own a dog in just about any city, especially urban cities, you have to keep your dog on a leash when it's out in a public place. If the dog is not on a leash, it is automatic negligence under the law. Period. That's why the plaintiff lost here. If you have a dog roaming around and the dog gets hurt, usually in a case like that, you're a goner unless the other dog is also off a leash, and then it has to do with splitting damages based on negligence.
I know that people can only be made whole by awarding them the depreciated value of their property. So since animals are treated as property by the law, shouldn't litigants receive compensation based on the value at the time that the animal died? After all, a puppy's worth more than an adult dog in many cases, and an elderly dog may be worth very little.
This sounds almost cruel to me, but yes, they are correct. That question is correct. I mean, you would value the depreciated value of the dog. If I have a 14-year-old dog, what's that, 70, it's like 98 years old or something in human years, not going to be worth as much as a puppy. Dogs provide companionship and service to families and protect homes. They do all kinds of things. Some of them are service animals. And if they have fewer years on the horizon, they're not going to have the same value.
Well, that'll do it for this session of the People's Court. See you next time.